Hello, my name is Yulia Brown, and today we will review three senses that all of us humans enjoy. It's hearing, vision, and tasting. And to make it even more exciting, we'll tie all three to the fun experience of wine tasting. So let's begin. We will start with vision. Vision is a very complex process that helps us to perceive, interpret the shapes of objects, depth perception, colors, and let's begin with the process of how that happens. First, light enters the eye, and it reflects off the objects and enters the eye through the cornea. Cornea is the transparent outer layer of the eye, and cornea bends, in other words, refracts the light to help us focus it. So the amount of light is regulated through the pupil. And the iris, the colored part of our eye, controls the size of the pupil, adjusting to how much light do we really need. And bright light, the pupil shrinks, and when the light is dim, the pupil portion of our eye expands to let more light in, so we can actually have a better understanding and interpretation of the object we're looking at. The process of accommodation happens in the lens of the eye, and this is when lens kind of fine tunes the rays and ensuring light rays are converged on the retina at the back of our eye section. Retina is a very fun portion of the eye. This is what converts light into the electrical signals. And in the back of our eye, in the retina region, we have photoreceptors, rods and cones. Rods detect light and dark, and cones detect colors like red, green, and blue. Then the optic nerve is in the picture. It takes this signal and sends it to the brain into our visual cortex, and then brain takes this signal and interprets it into the three-dimensional object. And voila, this is how we perceive our world in a three-dimensional uh, state. And since we collect the information from both of our eyes, we get that depth perception. And the brain also flips the image since our retina captures images upside down. So you don't have to turn your head upside down, your brain does it all for you. Next, we will review key steps on how our brain collects information when it comes to the sound. So the sound enters our ear in the shape of sound waves. So the sound waves travel through the air into and enter our ear. And the pinna, which is the visible part of the ear, helps direct sound into the ear canal. These waves travel down the ear canal and reach the eardrum. The eardrum, the tympanic membrane, vibrates in response to the waves, sound waves. These vibrations are passed through the three tiny little bones in the middle ear, not visible portion of our ear, and the tiniest little bones, actually the smallest bones in our body, malleus, incus, and stapes, they take this sound and amplify the vibration and send them to the cochlear. And cochlear is inside the inner ear. Cochlear. What is the cochlear? Cochlear is a fluid-filled spiral shaped structure inside our ear lined with the tiny little hairs, and the vibrations create wave, and once that wave happen in the fluid, it's causing the little hairs on the surface to bend, and hair cells convert these movements into electrical signals. And just like that, you just heard my drag going off. So the auditory nerve is sending and carries these electric signals to the brainstem, and the brainstem The signal is then traveled to the auditory cortex, which is located in our temporal lobe. And of course, the brain takes this information and processes the way we know what the sound is, which is it detects its pitch, volume, direction, and meaning. So, next, let's talk about taste. When food or drink enters our oral cavity, we get molecules from food start dissolving in saliva, and then the tongue, which is covered in tiny little bumps called papillae, um, they also contain taste buds, and this is how the taste receptors start collecting the information. While some of the tastes are pretty self-explanatory, like sweet, sour, salty, and bitter, we also have this taste sensors called umami. Umami is how our tongue tastes things that are savory from glutamates, which are cheeses and soy sauce. So once we detect the flavor, then the signal travels through the cranial nerves to the brainstem. And the main nerves that are involved are your facial nerve and the cranial nerve number 7, glossopharyngeal nerve, cranial nerve number 9, and vagus nerve, which is a cranial nerve number 10. For complete flavor experience, our brain combines things like smell, texture, and temperature. And also, these signals travel from cranial nerves all the way to gustatory cortex of the brain, where it's all processed. And this is how we actually get the information, and it's influenced by smell and other factors, which are textures, temperature, and we have this fantastic experience. So how does hearing affect on wine tasting? Well, it's all about the sound. When we pop that cork, our brain is having that anticipation. And for those who love bubbles, we all hear the little bubbles fizzle, and a lot of people love it. When it comes to color, and this is when our vision senses check in, and we start looking at the viscosity of wine, at the colors and hues. And of course, let's not forget the most pleasurable thing, smelling it. This is when a lot of people can actually detect the grapes that were the wine was originated. They detect the age of it and the type of wine that you're drinking. But for somebody as simple as me, I'll just smell it, taste it, and this is fantastic. So here you go. Cheers. And this was how you perceive vision, hearing, and tasting. Thank you.